No one can fill out Gibbs' shoes quite as Mark Harmon does. For real, there can never be another Leroy Jethro Gibbs. Of course, you can chalk it up to his incredible acting performance. The man's got skills, believe it or not. He had a very different job before he got into showbiz. In this video, we'll be telling you about all his surprising career choices before he got to where he is now. First off, it's not what you'd guess. There are actors who are just so natural at their job that you'd think it's their main thing. But hey, people have a lot of other projects and passions, and it's amazing to see how multifaceted we can be. Let's be real, it's a tough business. For whatever reason, it makes sense to dabble in other fields before you start thinking about acting and performing. Whether it be waiting tables or an office job, the list is endless. It's a different story with Mark Harmon, though. The 71-year-old actor revealed to Men's Journal that he used to be a carpenter before he dipped his toes into this part of his career. Yep, you heard us. Imagine Gibbs using a hammer and a chainsaw to cut up some wood for a bed set. Just picture it. You'd never have guessed. He went on to say he really enjoyed his work. He liked the routine of it, getting up in the morning and driving to his job. The task itself was also something he was really passionate about, and the thing about carpentry is that it's a little labor intensive. You've gotta really put your back into it sometimes. That's what he loved about it too. Plus, it's also a creative field. Anything that requires you to create can be counted as one, folks. It's not just acting or music or painting. Plus, he said that it was all about the material for him. That and doing it right. You gotta be technically precise and accurate. Luckily for him, Mark loved doing that. Up next, Trouble in Paradise. It wasn't all fun and games though. Harmon also revealed that he found it really difficult to land a stable job as a carpenter back then. He tried his best and went to several interviews, but just couldn't get a proper gig. When asked about what he'd do if he wasn't into film and TV, he said that he'd love to go back to his previous career choice. Things have changed a lot since then, and we're pretty sure he'll get hired as a carpenter in literally no time. He still enjoys the craft, and we're sure he has a little woodworking station at home. If you did it right, your project would outlast you, according to him. We're still reeling from the huge plot twist though. You'd imagine he'd have any other job or passion. Life is full of surprises, folks. To be honest, we can sort of see Gibbs working on a cabin in Alaska now that he's retired and living happily. Catching fish, doing your silly little tasks, that's life. If he hadn't started in showbiz, he said he'd probably still be trying to make it as a carpenter. He can't take the spirit out of this man, that's for sure. Granted, he did have another hustle he was working on while doing the carpentry thing. You gotta pay the bills, man. He also talked about that in the interview. Following up, his hustle as a salesman. So obviously, things were going a little slow for the guy. He took a job as an ad salesman once, and things really picked up from there. A 9 to 5, it was the grind. We all know how it is. Mark really liked that aspect of it though. The man likes routine. That went on for about 4 years. Then he told Men's Journal that he got promoted to another ad-based job for a shoe company. Keep in mind that this was a pretty hefty promotion. He got bumped up to a national sales rep position, so by then he was kind of a shoe salesman at that point. The more you know. It was around that time that he realized he wanted to switch things up. Between wood-related failures and working in advertising, he had a wake-up call. It's actually quite a poetic story. Mark said that he was going home from Boston one day. He had some work business to attend out there. On the way home, he was sitting next to this 33-year-old and they struck up a conversation. The stranger was talking about how he'd try to make a pension at 65. According to Mark, he was even drinking his second martini when their wheels were up. Like, come on, it must have been a difficult job in life, right? And now, the push Mark needed for acting, you can guess that this really changed his perspective. Like, he really sat down and realized he doesn't want to do something that won't excite him. The stranger he talked to hated his job and was absolutely miserable. Harmon went on to say that right after he got home, he got in his car again, drove out to his office, and sent in his resignation notice. Boom, just like that. At the time, it might have seemed a little impulsive. Well, look at where he is now. Seems like the universe was just leading him to his destiny, y'all. He also talked a little about how he had to adjust to the screen and camera after coming from a background like this. He was used to be a jock too, and that meant he had a lot of control over how others perceived him. On the other hand, a career as an actor, that's way different. Harmon dishes that there are times when he doesn't feel as in control, and you gotta make peace with it and let it take you places. How he coped with it was to not put a lot of focus on it. And now for some other NCIS news you might have missed out on. Firstly, Mark Harmon's involvement in season 20. Let's be real, this show hasn't been the same since Gibbs went to live a quiet life. While we understand the decisions that needed to be made, it's still sad. Ask any NCIS fan and they'll I'll tell you, they've rewatched old episodes for comfort. He's just that amazing of a character. The real OG. This is the first season that won't include him in the role we all know and love. Of course, the stakes are high. Stephen D. Binder talked about this at length with TV, line, and dropped a little special hint we just can't ignore. He said that they wanted Leroy's storyline to be as natural as possible, but also leave the door open. By the standards of the producers, Gibbs is not gone for good. He's still existing in the canon, he's just in Alaska doing his thing. Binder talked about how he imagines the retired detective coming back and what that would be like, but it's all speculative, although he did say one thing. They do have plans to involve Harmon in season 20, and they are working on it on the down low. The tricky part is that they have to do this in a way that doesn't ruin his storyline. He said he didn't want to rip off the scab, which makes sense. Oh well, fingers crossed. Coming up, the love triangle theory involves Jimmy and Jessica. September rolled around, it's premiere season, baby. Season 20's just around the corner, and fans are going wild with theories. Hey, the hints we've gotten from the showrunners, it's enough to keep up thinking for a lifetime. With the brand new romance blooming between Jessica Knight and Jimmy Palmer, the producers have hinted that there's a third mystery person in the mix. Things are gonna get spicy. Binder has now said that they're official. They're gonna have to navigate a lot of new things. He said there are gonna be hesitations between them based on their personalities. For example, how Jimmy's been out of the game for a while and Jessica's all in it. We might just see someone new come and add another layer to this relationship. Binder calls season 20 the season of love. Buckle your seatbelts. Lastly, Brian Dietzen and Wilmer Valderrama tease the premiere. The joy of seeing the actors post tidbits of NCIS on their stories? Unmatched, especially when you know that the cast are all buddies and have an amazing time working together. Valderrama recently posted a story on his Instagram of him and Brian hyping each other up for the release of the 20th season. Even though we don't get to see a hint of the first episode at all, it's still a wholesome reminder. These people love working together, and it's pretty obvious both on and off the screen. To be honest, it's necessary to have that kind of relationship. They're all working really long hours with each other. Just like how Jimmy and Tori's friendship have been bubbling with witty humor, their actors feel the energy. Wilder also posted a reminder with the rest of the cast and crew for us to look out for the premiere on CBS, and they're also excited to show us what's in store. We can't wait. Well, that's a wrap for this one. Were you shocked to find out Harmon used to be a carpenter? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to our channel for more videos just like this. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one.